Fellas, we have now entered the final stretch before Edge of Fate. But before we step foot inside of the new expansion, it's imperative your Guardian is fully prepared. Many players have fallen under the faulty assumption that Tier 5 loot is just going to be readily available to us day one in Edge of Fate. The reality is, it's going to be a hot minute until Tier 5 loot ever makes its way into our hands. And at the end of the day, what matters most is the actual perks that are present on your weapon. So if you plan on completing the legendary campaign or tackling contest mode for the day one raid, you gotta have the right tools for the job. Today, guys, we're gonna be going over our list of weapons that we believe are gonna be your best weapons going into Edge of Fate. These are weapons that dropped all the way back from the final shape to present day. Now, we try to condense things down to just these few. Believe me, we've had a lot of weapons drop over the past year. We could literally be here for the next hour. Now, it's also worth noting that while some of these weapons aren't necessarily going away, they may become more difficult to acquire in the Edge of Fate portal loot rotation. And if anything, in the midst of you clearing out your vaults, who knows? Maybe you got one of these just lying around. Now, to start off with one of the most powerful weapons we have ever seen, we have Choir of One. This is a special ammo auto rifle that was released back in episode Echoes. Now, both the weapon and all of its catalysts can be acquired from the exotic mission Encore after completing the episode Echoes story. Now, it cannot be overstated just how much this weapon can do. It really has it all. It has two modes of fire, a hip fire that shoots out this wyvern blast at 5 ammo each, or a single shot ADS mode. This gives Choir of One some insane utility, as the single fire mode could take out ads with an average of 1 to 2 shots, and then you can just swap to your hip fire to melt tanky targets. Not only that, it also slots in very well as a backup DPS option. Once you're out of rockets or heavy grenade launcher shots, you can literally just pull out Choir and just hip fire for the rest of the face, and it can easily add over an extra million damage. Its ammo economy is also really good. It allows for some really strong double special loadouts, as you can pair with things like a sniper, a shotgun, fusion rifle, the list goes on. Now, it gets even better, as one of its catalysts is destabilizing rounds, which allows Choir here, especially after destabilizing rounds was buffed at the beginning of Heresy. This allows this weapon to be arguably one of the best when it comes to ad clear. Normally, the common saying is jack of all trades, master of none, but I'd argue and say that Choir of One has a hell of a shot of being both of those things. Now, if you don't know what exotic mission I'm talking about or how to get it, don't worry. We'll have a list down below of each of these weapons and where to get them, including their quests. Next on our list, Rocket Sidearms. Now listen, I know I'm not exactly saying a specific weapon, but that's just how good Rocket Sidearms are. Ever since they were unveiled in Warlord's Ruin, with the first edition being Indebted Kindness and the Exotic Buried Bloodline, this list has continued to grow, and every single one added to the list has been one banger after another. We got the Call in the final shape, which was Strand. We also received 3 more over the course of the past year. We got Aberrant Action, which is a solar edition that dropped with us inside of episode Echoes, which in contest mode environments is one of my go-to weapons, simply because it has heal clip and incandescence. Then we have Tenacious Mastery, one of the most used weapons in all of Destiny, and for good reason. It drops from Iron Banner, and it's our first stasis rocket sidearm. Now, this one surprised us with its gun roll, including Air Trigger, which provided the sidearm with increased ammo reserves for more destruction, and you could also roll this with Chill Clip, which is fantastic for literally everything. Ad clearing, anti-champion capabilities. And what's so beautiful is that Iron Banner is going on this week. And I don't want to alarm anyone, but it is the last Iron Banner until after Edge of Fate launches. So guys, lock this weapon down. It's too good, man. Now finally in Heresy, we also received our first ever Void Rocket Sidearm, and it didn't disappoint. Lotus Eater drops from Nightfalls, making it very easy to farm for, and you'll definitely want to get this one, guys. From roles like Reconstruction, Repulsor Brace, Shoot the Loot being present in that 3rd column, along with destabilizing rounds in that 4th column. And the real reason why we're putting up all of these rocket sidearms is because we have an artifact mod coming in Edge of Fate called Reciprocal Draw, which provides a damage buff to sidearms after rapid non-sidearm final blows when drawn. Now, we don't know exactly what that damage buff is going to be, but the point is that rocket sidearms are already so good, and this is just going to make it better. Again, we'll have links down below of each of these weapons and their gun roll reviews. Next, we have one of the best heavy weapons we have ever seen, the king of rocket launchers, Hezen's Vengeance. If there was one weapon that my raid fire team said, hey, everyone better have for day one, it's this rocket right here. This weapon arrived in the Vault of Glass refresh this season, and it added a host of new perks, including its origin trait Time Lost Magazine, which reads, final blows of this weapon grant bonus super energy. When your super expires, this weapon's magazine size is doubled for a long duration and reloads from reserves. I cannot overstate just how much of an S tier perk Time Lost is. It's so good, I actually wonder if it's going to get nerfed. Essentially though, when your super expires, your magazine size is doubled for a full 20 seconds. You can imagine just how powerful this is on a rocket launcher. And this differs from perks like Envious Assassin or Overflow. The magazine is not simply overflowed, but actively doubled in capacity. Now this is an important distinction because this means that Hezen can roll Envious Arsenal, which will reload 2 rockets when procced. Not only that, but Envious Arsenal itself is an S tier perk, and it gets even stronger when enhanced, as it gives a free reserve mod in ammo. And for Hezen, that means a full extra rocket. Combine this with a damage perk like Elemental Honing or Bait and Switch, and you have the best rocket launcher in the game. Hezen's origin trait has power crept this rocket so hard that even when Cold Comfort released, with a DPS perk set nearly identical to Hezen's Vengeance, nobody cared. The ability to essentially cut your required reloads in half absolutely spikes your DPS, and this is a must-have weapon for Edge of Fate, especially if you're considering attempting the upcoming Day 1 raid. However, I do want to caution that it is entirely possible Bungie shifts the DPS meta in the upcoming expansion. We haven't seen patch notes yet, so it's possible Time Loss Magazine receives a nerf, or even worse, rockets are nerfed altogether. So keep that in mind. I'm actually keeping a Cold Comfort just in case. But as always, we'll be covering the upcoming sandbox changes that Bungie will be disclosing in their TWABs leading up to Edge of Fate. Up next on our list, we have support auto rifles. Now we've talked about these a lot, and rightfully so. These weapons provide fantastic support for yourself and also for your teammates. Look no further than most contest dungeon or raid clears, or even Rite of the Nine. Keeping teammates alive is a top priority when you find yourself in intense situations, especially intense situations where you have limited res tokens. And that's where support auto rifles come in. Now, No Hesitation was actually our first addition to this archetype in the final shape, and it has roles like Psychic and Circle of Life, providing you restoration when healing allies, but also buffing the damage for the auto rifle itself. Or you can even do something like Psychic and Incandescence, which provides great supports while also having the ability to do some light AoE ad clear. Now, if you're looking for ways to get this weapon, the easiest way is just running Overflow or doing patrols on the Pale Hearts, which have a chance to drop the weapon while also leveling up your rank, which will provide you with Ingrams to focus the weapon. It's craftable, so once you lock down 5 red borders, you can set it up however you want. Our other newest option though is Adamantite. This one drops inside of Heresy, with this version thematically being Strand. Now you might be thinking, wait, wouldn't this not be as good as No Hesitation since it doesn't roll with things like Psychic? Actually, there's another perk on it called Reciprocity. This grants healing to you when healing allies. Adamantite also has the ability to apply Sever with its perks like Slice and Tear, which help reduce the damage output of enemies in higher tier content, along with easily spawning tangles on debuffed targets. Now, another interesting thing about Adamantite is that it receives the same damage buff when healing allies as No Hesitation, but it also spawns in Unraveling Projectiles, which can provide some extra damage on nearby enemies simply for healing. You for sure want to lock one of these down, guys, for Edge of Fate, because again, the support capabilities on these weapons are so beneficial for contest difficulty. Up next, we have another group of weapons that should be no surprise, that being Aerial Denial Frame GLs. You want to know why no one rocks wave frame grenade launchers? It's because these weapons exist. They have literally replaced wave frames in every way. They can lock down areas. They can shoot multiple shots that create these pools that deal damage over time. And it can be done all from a single grenade launcher shot. Lost Signal was our first option that dropped in Episode Echoes, and it's used in conjunction with Prismatic for easy Darkness Transcendence energy, along with just providing good damage and ad clearing capabilities. Now you get this from doing echo activities or turning in echo Ingrams, but this one is also craftable. Now I can roll with perks in the third column like Lead from Gold for better ammo economy, or simply just auto-loading holster for easy reloads while stowed. Now One for All can also roll in its fourth column, which is actually a good perk on an aerial denial frame, as the AoE on these pools that you're laying down can tag multiple enemies, therefore proccing the perk. Now another aerial denial frame that we have to bring up, of course, is Velocity Baton. The most sought after roll for this one was Attrition Orbs in the fourth column. Now this roll has continued to elude myself, but this one is an orb printing machine. Now recently though, the stabilizing rounds got a buff, making it a lot more viable, bringing it in line with its other counterparts like Incandescence. So if you're hunting for the God roll in the Vesper dungeon, you may want to look out for not just an attrition orb roll, but also a destabilizing round roll. Now there is still a glitch to farm this weapon from the first encounter. We're gonna link that one down below. Now fast forward to Heresy. We got another addition to the family called Psycho Pump. This is an arc grenade launcher that has perks like Envious Arsenal and Ambitious Assassin in that third column, and Rolling Storm and Elemental Honing in that fourth column. Now what makes it unique is that Ambitious Assassin combined with Runneth Over allows you to run 3 grenade launcher rounds in a single mag, which means tons of damaging pulls in a single area. Now that roll is a complete RNG drop, and good luck getting it, fellas. It's rare, man, but definitely tackle the harder content in the nether activity, and who knows, you may get this shiny variant alongside an adept version. All 3 of these though, guys, are great. Be sure to lock down 1 or even all 3, depending on what you're looking for. Next is a weapon that so many people shame me for, and I just don't know why. Ergo Sum. Yes, I have a page devoted to this weapon inside of my vault, and I have to ask, how do you guys not have this many Ergo Sums? This weapon, released in the final shape, was the first special ammo sword. Now, it can be obtained from a number of different sources after the final shape quest Destined Heroes, including the Paleheart Pathfinder in Overthrow. Now, Ergo Sum doesn't have its own unique exotic trait, but instead has several possible traits pulled from past exotics, and several game-breaking combinations have arose from this weapon. First, we have Wolfpack rounds, an essential weapon for the Day 1 Salvation's Edge race. Using a charge heavy attack not only grants yourself Wolfpack rounds, but it grants Wolfpack rounds to any other nearby player using a legendary sword. Guys, anytime sword damage is needed, this is the perk to use, as it buffs everyone's damage quite significantly. It's literally Gallahorn, but for swords. Next, we have Arc Conductor. Now, this perk was stolen from Ristrunner, but it has a different activation requirements. Instead of taking arc damage, the perk procs off of using a powerful heavy attack. This will then give you an arc resist shield and allow you to chain lightning between enemies. Now, we have made many builds on this channel using this perk. It's just that strong. There are certain situations, especially on Warlock, when combined with Devour, an Arc Conductor, and a Stasis Turret, a Getaway Artist, dude, you feel unstoppable. That same build is a build you can literally go into any content with right now, and it will carry you. Next, we have the Perfect Fifth. Now, this may seem like a bit of a weaker perk compared to the rest, but when paired with a caster frame version of Ergo Sum, it cooks, boasting one of the highest DPS metrics for a sword, especially when paired with another caster frame in your heavy slots that you could swap back and forth to. Overall, guys, Ergo Sum is an amazing sword. It can fit many roles, and it has many roles. I personally just believe in keeping one of every single role. And if you haven't checked out Blue Ingram, that website right there is one of the best ways to track roles for both class items and Ergo Sums. That way you're not keeping dupes. Now, our next weapon on this list is in a similar vein to Hezen's Vengeance. This one being the best heavy grenade launcher, Chill Inhibitor. This is a rapid fire heavy grenade launcher that arrived with the Vespers Host dungeon. Now, this weapon is so good and was so sought after that it caused the entire Waitgate fiasco. Essentially, the Destiny community unionized and found out that Bungie be fudging the numbers. Now, they've since corrected it, but it's just hilarious that it took one really good weapon to bring out all this information. Now, once again, Envious Arsenal is the star here. Skipping a reload on a perk is already extremely strong, but gaining a full reserve mod upon enhancing it makes the ammo economy even better. We can then pair it with Bait and Switch for that 30% damage boost. What's even more beautiful is that both of these perks activate from using your other weapons. So anytime you proc Bait and Switch, you will also proc Envious Arsenal. This ensures that your weapons will be reloaded anytime you need to refresh your damage perk. Now, you may be thinking, why would I use this when Hezen's Vengeance is so strong? That's a fair statement. In the current sandbox, Chill Inhibitor lives in the shadow of its rocket launcher counterparts. But keep in mind, that can change with the drop of a hat. As we touched on earlier, all it takes is one artifact mod, one good pairing, or a single patch note in the Edge of Fate, and everyone will be right back to using this gun. Now, this next weapon is a bit of a surprise in design, but it's been making waves since its release with the Sunder Doctrine dungeon. Unvoiced is a Void Slug shotgun that has been the topic of a lot of discussions here recently, and for good reason. For the most part, slug shotguns have been slowly phased out, being power crept by different options over the years. But when Unvoiced hit the scene, everyone's eyes were drawn to the fact that it can roll with redirection. This is because redirection grants a 100% damage buff and is sustained for several shots as long as stacks are built in advance. But fellas, that's just half the story. Redirection rolls in the third column. What this means is that it can be paired with another damage perk. And in that fourth column, Unvoiced rolls with things like Bait and Switch as well as Elemental Honing. This results in a damage buff of 160%, which has turned this shotgun into a monster. Unvoiced with full Elemental Honing stacks and and redirection can hit Carl here for upwards of 111,000 damage and reach upwards of 2 million total damage just on its own. This is staggering for a legendary weapon, let alone a shotgun. To put this in perspective, Unvoiced reaches Legend of Actrius levels of DPS, despite having lower total damage. In my opinion, guys, this is absolutely a must-have weapon for new content. It doubles not only as an amazing special weapon, but a major buster on a nuclear scale. Now, this list wouldn't be complete without covering one of my personal favorite weapons that I'm sure some of you can already guess: Abyssal Edge. The ultimate choice for people who want to clear the hardest content with the least amount of effort. It's beautiful. Now, you've heard us talk about it a lot. And again, what makes this sword so dang good is the fact that it can roll with flash counter, which got reworked in Heresy to emit a short-range blast when blocking, which allows us to easily proc bolt charge stacks. And since it's a strand weapon, unraveling rounds as well, all of which will discharge bolt charge stacks for increased damage while blocking without even being behind a barricade. Is this a bit cheesy? I don't care. This build is fun, man. Literally, the only people hating on this are Hunter and Warlock mates. Now, Abyssal Edge drops from the Nether. It can also be focused within the Tome of Want, which allows you to earn drops from kills or other activity completions within the game. And because of this weapon is a very easy one to farm. The role to look out for, though, guys, flash counter, redirection, in my opinion, is the best role you can get here. Equip it with strongholds, play a Titan, you'll have the best time of your life. Now, taking a step away from our legendary weapons for a second, we have our Heresy exotic mission reward, Barrow-Dyad. Now, this weapon was alright at first, but turned out to be quite good after unlocking all of its perks and catalyst options. It had a cool start to its quests, similar to Whisper of the Worm back in the day. The base version is earned via the Derealized mission tied to the episode Heresy, and we made multiple videos on how to complete the mission along with its catalysts. It's a lengthy quest, but just trust me when I say it's worth it. It does a crazy amount of damage in its Path of Ambition form, shooting high damage burrowing rounds, and can be further buffed with Peacekeepers on Titan. And its Path of Resolve form is still a great pick for ad clear. We've got a few strand artifact mods present in the Edge of Fate, like Threaded Blast, which increases our damage and range of our Tango explosions when destroying them with strand damage. We've got Cauterized Darkness, which will buff solar damage on strand and stasis debuff targets, or even Tango Web, which says that you can suspend nearby enemies when creating a tangle, which happens quite often if you build into a strand build. Definitely make sure you get this weapon, guys. Fully upgraded. It's a good exotic, probably one of the best seasonal exotics since Choir of One. Now, up next is a weapon that I know is going to surprise you. This one has a ton of void synergy, and that is the Exalted Truth hand cannon from Trials. Now, I know some of you are already skipping ahead right now. You heard Trials, PvP, the hell with that.
Take him to Detroit. No! No, not Detroit! No! No, please!
Let me ease your mind. It has never been easier to get Trials loot. Even if you just play rounds for XP and get some Ingrams to focus, it's worth it. Exalted Truth can roll with things like Withering Gaze and Destabilizing Rounds in that third column, and One for All, Repulsor Brace, and Demoralize in that fourth column, making it a monster when it comes to dishing out Weaken and Volatile. It can even grant Volatile rounds via Destabilizing Rounds, which gives it the ability to stun barrier champions and spread even more volatility. It hits hard, it feels really good to use, which is why I'm recommending even to my PvE players to at least get the regular version of this weapon. Now, based off the schedule Bungie provided in a recent TWAB, the Adept version will not drop before Edge of Fate, which is a bummer, but you can still earn the normal version via rank up rewards or focusing at Saint 14. Now, next on the list is a heavy machine gun. Now, let me just say, these weapons have had their ups and downs in terms of usage as a boss encounter weapon, but their moment-to-moment utility has always been great, and that's no different here with Corrective Measure. This weapon, like Hezen's Vengeance, got a refresh and drops from the Vault of Glass raid. You can snag the weapon from the first, third, and final encounters, and it can roll with some amazing perk options. Specifically, double damage perks with redirection in its third column, and Kill and Tally, Elemental Honing, or One for All in that fourth column. Not to mention, you can also get rolls with Destabilizing Rounds, Demoralize, and Withering Gaze for that phenomenal void synergy. On top of this, it too has the highly coveted Time Loss Origin trait, which, as we covered in Hezen's Vengeance case, is one of the best origin traits in the game. Now, we aren't getting really any void synergistic artifact mods in our first set of mods for Edge of Fate, but it's still a very solid option in general as a heavy machine gun. And with it having a perk refresh this season and the ability to be crafted, it's a great time to snag Corrective Measure. Now, the next weapon on this list is Unloved. This weapon drops from the Sunder Doctrine dungeon in the first and third encounters. This is a strand heavy burst hand cannon. It can roll with things like Hatchling, Rapid Hit, and Dragonfly in that third column, Frenzy, Tear, and Elemental Honing in that fourth column. Now, the real reason why we're putting this hand cannon on this list is because of its origin trait, Subjugation. This origin trait says that when dealing damage, the weapon adapts to its target. For weak enemies, that is rank and files and elites, the shots basically have explosive payload. For strong targets, that being mini bosses, the enemies become exhausted, reducing their damage output similar to Sever. It also has increased flinch resistance against guardians, but I would just focus on this weapon for PvE. Let me just say, guys, this too is up there with the time loss origin trait. And what's even crazier is that there's nothing here that's requiring activation. No class ability, no kill activation, and with Unloved also taking advantage of the mini strand artifact mods that we have in Edge of Fate, this weapon is only going to get better. Now, the next weapon on our list is a pulse rifle, but this one in particular has been the king of the two-burst archetype since its debut, that being Nullify. Now, you can see here on this chart from Mossy Max on Twitter, two-burst pulse rifles are one of the strongest primary weapons in the game, and they're able to be shot from a very safe range. Nullify in particular is strong for a number of reasons. It can roll things like Heal Clip and Incandescent, which is strong for any weapon. One of the most standout rolls is actually Firefly in Incandescent. First and foremost, 2 splash perks equals more kabloomies. But the real interesting combination is that Firefly kills can also proc Incandescent, which leads to the potential of exploding an entire room. Now, this is important because some of our upcoming artifact mods heavily lean into solar. One in particular, which works with kills on scorched enemies. The tier 5 artifact mod, Radiant Shrapnel, reads, dealing sustained damage while radiant or defeating a scorched combatant with the weapon causes the target to release solar projectiles that deal damage and scorch on impact. Now, obviously, this will require testing, but we could see a world where this adds even more explosions to our Firefly plus Incandescent combination. Now, this will also pair well with another artifact mod called Fever and Chill, which states that rapid precision hits with solar weapons grant radiant. Rapid precision hits with stasis weapon grant frost armor. Now, finally, we have Cauterized Darkness, where stasis or strand debuffed non-boss combatants take increased solar damage from all sources. Now, these 3 artifact mods have the chance to send Nullify's power through the roof, something you'll want for the upcoming season's worth of content. Don't worry, guys, we'll be putting up a dedicated video in the future going over builds to prep for Edge of Fate, but I did want to quickly mention that Polaris Lance, while we're on this subject, is going to be so good. Most likely, you already have this weapon, but if you don't, grab it from the exotic monument in the tower. It's going to dominate with these solar artifact mods. Now, to wrap up our list, we have a weapon that I know will surprise you, that being the Stasis Double Fire Special Grenade Launcher, Liturgy. Now, there are only 3 double fire grenade launchers in the game right now. 4, if you count Wilder Flight's Refresh. Liturgy is both the only stasis element for this frame and the only double frame grenade launcher in the top weapon slots. This gives it a unique position when it comes to damage rotations, and it has perks to match that role. Envious Arsenal once again makes its appearance, which is fantastic for DPS rotations, as well as the extra ammo when enhanced. And we also find Chill Clip in our 4th column, which is great for several reasons. First, it grants easy access to freezing both bosses and elite enemies, but it also acts as a skeleton key for champions, as it can handle both overload and unstoppables. Then finally, when it comes to damage rotations, it's able to add an easy darkness debuff for Facet of Courage. You see, Facet of Courage makes your line abilities deal 10% more damage to targets afflicted by a darkness debuff. Now, Chill Clip will also be essential for the previously mentioned Cauterized Darkness, which while it doesn't work on bosses, will still help solo weapons make quick work of elites and below. I know Liturgy has been pretty much overtaken by Tenacious, as everyone just uses Tenacious for dealing with champions, but Liturgy is a great option for any damage rotation, especially damage rotations that are not focused on precision damage. Now, before we conclude this video, we also have some honorable mentions. Season of the Dawn weapons will be leaving soon, and I suggest getting Perfect Paradox, guys. It's a great kinetic rapid-fire shotgun with Field Prep and Pugilist in that 3rd column, and Trench Barrel 1-2 Punch in that 4th column. Revenant seasonal weapons, Scavenger's Fate. This is more for PvP, but it's a good precision frame, guys. In that 3rd column, you get Lone Wolf, Slide Shot. 4th column, you get Closing Time. It's Silence. Splicer weapons, Grid Skipper. PvP players, Lone Wolf, Repulsor Brace. 4th column, Head Seeker all day long. Grid Skipper's dueling capabilities are fantastic. Next, I want to bring up one of my personal favorites, Chroma Rush. One you can utilize in both PvP and PvE with trait combinations like Subsistence, Kinetic Tremors, and PvP perks like Dynamic Sway Reduction and To the Pain, alongside Target Lock, Kill Clip, or even Tap the Trigger. This is one of my most used auto rifles in the game, and by God, it's so good. It honestly should have made the list above, but I understand I'm a bit biased when it comes to this auto rifle. Now, the last weapon I want to mention is a unique SMG called No Survivors, a solid solar 720 that can roll with Heal Clip and Incandescence, which should fit very nicely with our upcoming artifact synergy. So guys, that's it. Those are all the weapons we recommend, as well as our list of honorable mentions. Our description is going to be slammed full of every weapon, every god roll review, and every quest guide on how to get each one of these. So feel free to check those out, and good luck on the grind. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.